So I spoke to the owner of the SVT this morning, and a really nice guy, and he understood everything that I said, and he wants this amp to be bulletproof, never have to think about it again. He was really unhappy with the previous tech about 5-7 years ago, who did partial work, not a great job. The amp was basically unplayable after spending a bunch of money. And the previous tech told the owner that the power transformer was, quote, corroded, and he would not warranty his work. There's no corrosion on either transformer. The transformer has got a slight bit of rust just on the inner leavings. That happens on the layers of transformers. It's the mildest thing. I've had some really great sounding, great playing vintage amps in with much more rust. And so I think the guy was, let's be nice and say he was out of his depth. But this amp is going to get all new filter caps throughout, all the electrolytic caps. It's going to get a new power switch, a new lamp. I'm going to clean up all that silicone nastiness with that siliconed in terminal strip. It's going to get the more properly done heater balance stuff. We're going to do it like it's a super reverb. It's going to get a new power cable, obviously. I have already gone through and really cleaned both sides of this board and the tube sockets very thoroughly and reflowed those and every component attached to the tube sockets because the board had a lot of flex in it. I have tightened up all the hardware so the board flexes less. And all the noise from this area is gone. And in yesterday's video I said 12AU7, 12AU7. It's actually 12BH7s. It's the older version of the circuit. Sorry about that. I see both and I just brain farted. So 12BH7s, not the AU. Yes, Mita, you're very smart. Now shut up. I went through and did the same thing to the preamp board. Cleaning both sides of it, getting the old flux off, cleaning the sockets. The 6C4 is still a little bit noisy if you tap on it, but no anymore. It had one really badly microphonic 12AX7. That's getting swapped out. Let me show you a little bit of that, and then we'll get back to this section of the amp. Here I've already flushed out the tube sockets on the other side with isopropyl at least once. And I've got ISO on the board, and I'm just trying to get the worst of this old yucky flux off. Flux in its initial state by design is non-conductive, but it is a sticky tar-like substance and it traps particles in it over time, and those particles can make any bits of flux bridging to solder joints conductive to various degrees. And so this cannot hurt and will probably help. And it doesn't take long, and this is, as you can see, an old toothbrush, now used solely for this purpose of flux removal. You can use something with more bristle to it, but I find that I'd rather spend a little longer with a very soft, non-scouring toothbrush than go to anything too industrial. And it really gets the yuck up very nicely. Gave a few wipes of the toothbrush on this paper towel. Tasty. This one wasn't as bad as many, but it wasn't great. And next, of the preamp tubes, this one was very microphonic. That one's getting changed out. These seem okay. All the sockets have been cleaned. The OC's at 4 or 6. 6C4 tube had some noise in its socket. I'm hoping it's just the socket needs to be cleaned. But given how Ampegs fare over time and that the board's got a lot of flex to it, I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to make sure all these screws holding the board in place are tight. And some of them I'll have to do a right angle tool to do. And I'm going to reflow the solder connections on the pins. So let me do that real fast and we'll check back. So all that cleaned up really well, and a lot of the stray noises are gone, and I cleaned all the pots and the rocker switches with ISO and not ISO on those, sorry, deoxit as needed. And I'm really pleased with how the amp is sounding, and it's going to sound even better when the recap is done. Now, I'm not going to recreate what was done in 1970, whatever, and I'm not going to do some of the terminal strip things that I've done in other Ampegs. I've got a better idea for how to really well recap this and all other vintage SVTs that come in, and I'll share that in a later video. But for now, let's hear what just getting that ground and getting all the corrosion and junk out and getting good connections throughout the amp have done for the sound.